Ooh. Oh, this is such a bad angle. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's stream. I am, like I said, I'm trying to work out the stream schedule. You know, they say nobody looks best from below, so I'll just slouch a little bit. So we are still working out the stream schedule. Haven't quite figured out what the best day is, but like I said, Wednesdays and Thursdays are my weekends, so it's still up in the air. But today we're gonna finish the fly we started last week. Anyway, we're gonna finish the cock robin and just kind of chill and relax. Hopefully I'll be able to finish it before I have to go this afternoon. But anyway, let's finish this up, and at least we'll bang in a stream for this week, and we'll have to figure out something a little bit more permanent when it comes to schedule. Like I said, still not sure, but in any case, let's get started. All right, let's focus. You can see my double chin here. All right, so I got some pretty good feedback on the use of the camera. So, all right. So I've already prepared some of my materials. You guys have seen me do this before with the tippets, and the way I prepare the tippets. Again, ideally we don't want the tippets to stick up past the main wing. So if you take off fibers off the top of the tippets, then they can, they won't protrude past the top. So you can see it's a very nice low underwing. Oops, not quite even. There you go. These tippets aren't quite perfectly matched up, so there's going to be a little bit of unevenness here, but that's a little bit unavoidable because again, they're not perfectly matched. That's okay. If you're just putting tippets in the underwing, as long as they sit straight up and down, and they're not like leaning over to one side or the other. Excuse me, itchy nose. Holy cow. Close enough is good enough. A lot of classic fly tying is knowing when good enough, when it's good enough. Particularly when you're working with natural materials, oftentimes you won't be able to find perfect matches. And being able to tie these flies on a regular basis, if you're going to tie a lot, then knowing when you can use suboptimal materials to make a really nice fly is important. And I don't just say that as a person who's trying to make money off their flies, but you can imagine, even if you find like the feathers from exactly the opposite points on a bird, they're not going to be 100% perfectly matched. And being able to deal with that slight like asymmetry is really important when you're tying, complex flies like this. Okay. So I'm just going to wax my thread. just so that we can bind down the ends. And back to the tie-in point. Just make sure everything's straight. Good. Oops, squeaky chair. Now this wing is veiled with galena. That's a guinea fowl, but usually it refers to the speckled feathers. So, on a guinea fowl, there's two kinds of feathers, right? There are the large spots like this, and there are the speckled feathers like this. Usually, for whatever reason, the way that it's been interpreted, salmon fly patterns tend to use the speckled feathers, both for throats and wings. I don't know if that's like a modern interpretation of the instructions and materials, or if that's, absolutely historical. But at least the way it's been interpreted and the way I tend to tie my flies, it's the speckled feathers that we want when tying classic patterns. I kind of wonder, like the large spotted tragopan feathers aren't very well used. I mean, there's a few like Traherne patterns that use it, but I kind of wonder if they were going for like a specific look with the spotted using the speckled. Oops, I keep forgetting the camera's just right there. The speckled feathers. Now it says that the underwing is veiled with these. I don't have a whole lot of large speckled guinea fowl, just because the speckled feathers tend not to come in very large sizes. So I'm not actually going to be able to use a whole lot of it, but I'm going to try and just put a little right here at the base of the underwing. Whoop. Just give the suggestion. Now the other thing you could do is you could put this in as like a cheek. I've seen that done for the cock robin, and that may actually be the better choice here, at least the more visible or aesthetically pleasing choice here. So that's maybe what I'll do, especially since, like I said, speckled guinea doesn't generally come in long fibered feathers. Excuse me. Maybe if I had a whole skin to pick through, I'd find a couple, but I don't, so I can't. All right. So in that case, the wing is light and dark mottled turkey, swan dyed orangish red. I only have red, so I'll use my usual red turkey. It looks kind of orange in the camera, but this is actually quite a bright red. And then yellow dyed swan. Let's see. So yellow dyed swan. And then I have some dark mottled turkey. I don't really have a great light mottled turkey, so I'm going to actually use some of this bourbon red turkey as my light mottled. And it's pretty good. These particular feathers have a pretty good recurve to them. So I probably won't be using large chunks of that. And then also golden pheasant, which as usual, I'm going to put a large chunk on top of the wing instead of incorporating it into the wing. Again, that's just my aesthetic and the way I think it goes into the wing best. All right, so in terms of the turkey, I think because, again, this is what I would consider a beginner fly. It's not overly complicated. It doesn't require a big materials list. I'm actually going to tie this as if I were, a beginner and tying it for the first time. And usually the way that way I recommend starting is don't do an overly complicated married wing. Just stick to the large chunks of color. And the other thing I think is large chunks of color tend to be underappreciated. You know, the large segments of color are really eye-catching. Depending on what the color is, it can be really quite effective. So let's see, we have 5 elements. I'm going to do five strands of each. So dark turkey, white turkey, yellow, now the other thing you could do is if you're going to do like a really simple married wing that isn't too complicated but has a little bit of complexity, the thing to do is to alternate like dark and light colors. That's a really effective way to marry a wing. So even if you do just like splashes of each color, so for example, in this case, because I have, because I have, you know, a light colored neutral, so the light. So these are the 4 elements I'm going to marry together, and I'm going to mix. The effective thing to do would be to take the light solid color, mix it with the dark neutral color, and then take the light neutral color and mix it with the dark solid color. So actually, I think even though I said I wasn't going to make a complicated wing, I'm going to make an uncomplicated complex wing. How's that? So what I think I want to do is I want to take the yellow, and I'm only going to do this for one of these sets of colors. So I'm going to go 2 bars of yellow, 2 bars of the dark turkey, then 3 bars of yellow, and 3 bars of the dark turkey. Yeah. And then I'm going to leave the light turkey and the light turkey and the red as large chunks, because again, it's that big splash of color. And you know, this is the cock robin, right? Red is like the major kind of color that we want to emphasize. So here I've married together the yellow and the dark mottled turkey. And I'm just going to take the light mottled turkey and again, because I'm alternating light, dark, the wing still maintains its definition. I think I might have too many strands of red here. Yeah. And again, because we want to emphasize the red, so I think that's an attractive wing. Although I may switch the light model turkey with the red. Just because it does have a mallard roof, and the mallard roof will mostly cover the golden pheasant. So Well, let me put on the golden pheasant and see how we feel about it. Yeah, and a lot of learning to marry wings together so they look nice. It's just trial and error. Got to figure, probably take apart a wing, or put a wing together, and if you don't like it, take it apart. We tend to think of these like slips of feather as being fairly like fragile, not really up to a whole lot of abuse, and they will reach a point where they are kind of no longer marryable. But these slips in particular have not reached, have not gotten close to that point. So I think that's a fairly attractive wing. It's kind of got all the hallmarks of like big splash of color, but then also a little bit of complexity introduced just to mix things up. Now, a word about, so while I'm marry up the other side, just talking about stream schedule. Like I said, I'm working. I'm working. My work week is Friday to Tuesday, and that's just like I said because the health department that I work for, needed people on to work over the weekends, so that their regular clinic nurses could work, in the clinic on the weekdays and not spend extra hours on the weekends working case management. And but that kind of leaves me with the question of like what day is best to stream, because normally I'd stream on a Saturday. But if I don't have, if I'm working my regular job on Saturdays now, then the question is, well, what's the best day to stream? One thing I do know or have noticed about the streams that I do, whether or not they're on Saturdays or weekdays, most of the views for these streams actually come after recording. So, people aren't watching these streams live, which kind of makes me a little bit more comfortable with streaming, on Wednesday or Thursday during my weekend. And just, people can watch them not live. And the other thing that makes me okay with that is, I don't get a whole lot of interaction in the chat when I get stream live, even if I have multiple people watching. The chat's there for people to interact with the streamer. But if people don't want to use it or don't have questions, or it's just not a feature being used, then there's no point in doing this live per se. So I think my answer to like when I'm gonna stream, I'm probably gonna stream on Wednesdays or Thursdays, and then people can just watch it at their leisure. Yeah, it's not live, and therefore I could do things like edit video and that sort of thing. And there'll be a number of those that'll come up now that I have a nicer camera. I'll be able to do close-ups of like how-tos and that sort of thing. But I think the live streams are also great. I just kind of wish more people would watch them live, so that we can have that interaction in chat. Funny story about chat though. I originally started streaming over on Twitch, which is kind of it's more of a platform built for like video gamers. And I don't know, I thought, maybe I could get some young people interested in fly tying and fly fishing and classic Atlantic salmon flies. Well, I thought so, at least until I had one person with clearly a gamer tag in their for their Twitch ID asked me if I was building a bomb. I was like, I don't know. It's a hook. It's feathers. I don't see how this equates to, a bomb, but there it is. So yeah, anyway, Twitch just didn't have the kind of audience that would be interested in this kind of stream, which is why I'm here on YouTube. So yeah, so not really the kind of chat interaction I was hoping for. But anyway. Oh, you know what? I got the wrong side. Wrong slip of a. Okay. Now I'm going to trim out the butt ends of the wings as usual. As I said, I do that just to make sure the extra long fibers don't get caught up in each other, because that's just a little extra bulk off I don't have to worry about when setting the wings. So here are the wings that are all married up. And just going to put them back to back, essentially. Make sure they're aligned both on the tips and at the top. Just going to gently form them so that they, have a little bit of curvature to them, curvature downwards. And what that'll do is it'll help tent them a little bit underneath so that I can slide it just over the underwing, like so. And then I'm going to pinch it right here, right behind the tie-in point. So I'm going to pinch like this. Take a little bit of saliva. You could use water, but saliva's cheap and free. Or, well, it's readily available and free, I should say. If you live in the city, especially, water ain't free. So I'm going to do a soft loop. And I'm going to pinch right here. I'm going to work the butt ends up and the wings up just a little bit. And what I'm doing is I'm compressing the wing right there at the tie-in point just using the weight of the bobbin. So once we have that, ooh. Okay. I'm going to continue to pinch here. I'm going to give another loop. I'm just going to keep pushing these butt ends up and pinching here to keep the wing vertical. Then once that's mostly compressed, just going to gently kind of start working the thread tighter and tighter until the wing is set. So yeah, so basically what I'm doing is I'm compressing the wing using my fingers right here at the tie-in point. And then you can just kind of preen the wing until it's in the shape and position that you want it. I want a little bit more curve to it, so I'm just going to give it a little bit of a bump. And there we go. So then to trim, I'm going to take the pinch it here. I'm just going to trim this a few fibers at a time. You know, try not to torque on the wing. Right. I'm just going to bind those butt ends down. Okay. Make sure everything's on top of the hook. There we go. That is a set wing. And that's how you set wings on the first try. The key is compressing the tie-in point prior to actually using the thread to do it. Like, so you don't use the thread to compress the tie-in point, because if you use thread to compress the tie-in point, what you're going to do is you're going to cause the wing to roll over in the direction that you're wrapping the thread, because the thread will pull on the wing. You want to be able to compress the wing, straight in the vertical plane and not in a rotary motion. So by pinching on either side of the tie-in points and compressing it using my fingers to compress it, essentially what I'm doing is I'm compressing the wing vertically, and not letting the thread roll the wing over. So I'm just going to wax my thread as usual. I'm going to just bind down these butt ends here. Try to get all the fluffy bits tucked under. I'm going to add the speckled galena. I don't have very long, like I said, I don't have very long fiber galena, so this is not going to be, this is just going to be a taste. I suppose I probably should reverse my thread here to tie this in. I'm just going to soft loop it and hope for the best, because, okay, a little bit there. Just try not to catch. Okay. Just a little bit of a taste. Also, if you happen to have like a poorly folded wing, adding a little bit like of galena or that such right there can help hide the poor fold. I don't have that problem today, so mostly just there for that look. Let's see. Next, I'm going to add the bronze mallard roof. Let's see. I'm going to do it in the shell style, or the shrimp shell style that you would see on like a spay fly. Now, essentially, what that is, I'm taking 2 bronze mallard slips. I'm putting them top edge to top edge. And they're not quite the same. So I'm putting them top edge to top edge, and then I'm going to fold them over so that they're back to back. And the reason why I want to start them with top edge to top edge is because when I fold them over, they're going to naturally want to tent. And they'll kind of like pseudo marry along the top edge. This is where you want mallard with a significant amount of gray in it, because that gray is actually what will cause the roof to kind of pseudo marry along the top edge. And it also is the most flexible bit. So when you want to get over the hump of the wing here, that's the bit that'll actually, flow or be able to bend essentially over that hump. So I'm just going to give it a soft loop. And again, the mallard is one of those things that you want right at the top of the wing so that it'll cover. I may not get this perfect on the first try, but just going to lift this up a little. Now it looks obviously it looks a little bit messy, but the nice thing about mallard is I can just preen it into place. So I'm going to lock it down with a couple of turns of thread. Now I'm not too worried about adding bulk at the head of the fly right now, because there is a curl head, where I'm going to add a curl head. Again, mallard's one of those things that you just want to sit right at the top of the hook. There we go. Just like that. Oh, wait, not just like that. There we go. Again, a lot of these things, like the wing, the underwing, the mallard roof, are things that you can kind of preen into place once you have them locked down. So again, wax my thread, and then you can just kind of push it around. There's still enough flexibility in the tie-in point for me to kind of push it around until it does what I want it to do. And there we go. Oop, not quite. Not quite. So that's pretty good. And so one of the things I will note, and I say this all the time, is you guys in the camera are seeing the other side of the fly. No matter what anybody tells you, every fly tyer in the world has a good side and a bad side. The bad side usually ends up being the side of the fly that's away from them when they're tying. And that's just because, again, when you wrap your thread this way, when you wrap your thread, no matter which direction you wrap your thread, the side away from you is getting downward force, where the side near that you're wrapping into is experiencing upwards force. And so this imbalance of force always causes a fly to be somewhat asymmetrical. And that's true whether you're tying you know, hare's ear nymphs, or Catskill dries, Bergman wets, or classic salmon flies. It's just learning tricks for controlling it. The challenge with doing the shellback style, or this style of bronze mallard roof, is you're tying the whole roof in at the same time, and you're tying 2 strips in at the same time. And so that those unequal forces, one up, one down, has a larger effect. Essentially, it's magnified by the fact that you have 2 different strips that you're tying in. That's the best way I can explain it. It's probably not the best explanation, but that's, if when you hear fly tyers say, especially classic Atlantic salmon fly tyers, say I have a good side and a bad side, well, that's what they're talking about. There's one side in which the force is going one direction. There's another side in which the force is going in the other direction, and one of those sides is not going to look like the other. Now, I will say that there are some less scrupulous fly tyers out there who tie salmon flies for display boxes, who tie salmon flies that are only one-sided. So, for example, if there's a jungle cock cheek or chatterer side, they'll only tie the side that shows in the box. And in that case, they have a good side and bad side, and they have a good side and bad side for very less scrupulous reasons, dodgy reasons. Let's trim all of this up. Oh, they're not quite equal. It's just because this one's a little bit. That's fine. It's fine. Like I said, once everything is locked in, it might shift here. You might flick the wing or whatever. You just bring it back into place. Everything, once it's locked in with wax thread or whatever you're using, these flies are really durable. They're really kind of, people don't tend to think that they're pretty fragile just because they look complicated, but complicated isn't the same as, fragile. These flies were intended to be fished, back in the day. So they had to last. They had to stand up. Even though we're using modern thread, modern hooks, maybe not the correct gut. In theory, we're using the same. We're using the same, like the technique of tying feathers onto a hook using thread hasn't changed a whole lot. Just the materials have, and the context and the patterns. This out of the way. All right. Try not to hit the camera. No guarantees. I'm just gonna pull the fluff on the hurl back so that it doesn't get trapped into the stem going to the rear or going forward, because that's messy. Now, if you're having trouble getting your hurl to stay up on like a sloping head, what you can do is you can wax your thread, put down a layer of wax thread like I've done, and then you can use, you can make a wrap, and then you just use a little bit of pressure from your fingers to remelt the wax and essentially stick the hurl into that waxed thread. And that's why I am always waxing my thread before wrapping a hurl head. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to take that last wrap of hurl off because that was not a very good wrap. It fell down the wow, it's getting all complicated here. A little bit crowded. That's okay. I'm going to re-wax my thread again. And again, waxing your thread not only helps stick things into place, but you can see how you might not be able to see how messy it is. There you go. But you can see how there are all these different bits of fluff, and waxing your thread just helps clean up all those bits of fluff. No, like that. Oh, like chunks of wax here. All right, I'm just gonna whip finish. Call it a day. So I'm just going to do a little bit of preening here. Get everything looking pretty and spiffy. Going to adjust the wing a little bit. Need to adjust the horn. There we go. Just fixing the roof, fixing the horns. Again, once they're locked down on the fly, a lot of these things are easily just kind of preened into place. And they'll stay there once they're in place. It's just making sure all the forces on the feathers are, correct. So this is the cock robin from Hardy. Oops. See, this is the side that I see. Thanks for hanging out. like I said, I think I'm probably going to end up streaming on Wednesdays or Thursdays just because not a lot of people watch these live. They tend to watch them after the fact, which is fine. Happy to have the views, but you know, I suppose at this point it's not worth me worrying too much about what day I'm streaming on. If you enjoy what I do, you can check out more of my work on Instagram. It's at justwondering.brad. If you want to support the channel or purchase any of the flies you've seen me tie, Studio 1213 on Etsy. And thanks for hanging out. Hope everybody is staying safe and healthy, and I'll catch you next time.